Hello friends, and welcome back to another virtual story time with Miss Liz. Today is March 8th, which is also International Women's Day. International Women's Day is a global day that celebrates the economic, social, cultural, and political achievements of women everywhere. And today we're reading a book about persistence towards a dream by someone who is still quite young, but still an amazing young woman. Today's book is called Rosie Revere, Engineer. It's by Andrea Beaty and illustrated by David Roberts. Rosie Revere, Engineer by Andrea Beaty, illustrated by David Roberts. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. Look at all of these cool things that she uses to build with. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts like a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud, but Fred slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," Fred hooted. "Oh, truly I do." But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day, she kept her dreams to herself. She was so embarrassed about how her uncle reacted to her invention that she decided she was not going to share her inventions ever again. I hope she changes her mind. And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-grand-aunt Rose was a true dynamo who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. "The only thrill left on my list is to fly, but time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams." So here you see great-great-aunt Rose thinking back in her memories to when she used to work on airplanes. Do you see her up there? She's welding the wings together. That night, Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed. A daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky, and some hold on tight. And this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test, just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. Let's see what the cheese copter looks like. Whoa, that is pretty cool. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The Helio cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Uh-oh. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed, and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, oh no, never, not again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer. So just like with Uncle Fred, her great-great-aunt Rose was laughing. But it turns out she turned round to leave, but then great-great-aunt Rose grabbed a hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next. Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, and perplexed. I failed, said dear Rosie. It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed. Yes, said her great aunt. It crashed. That is true. But first, it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew. And that's true. It did fly for a moment before it crashed to the ground. Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next. She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. They worked till the sun streaked away to its bed, and Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly or loudly as Rosie Revere. And that, my friends, is the end of the story. I'm really glad that Rosie did not give up on her dreams. All she needed was a little encouragement to remind her that making mistakes is just part of learning. And she was, in the end, a great engineer because she didn't give up. Thank you all so much for reading with me today. Happy International Women's Day, and I will see you tomorrow for more great books. Thanks for watching.